Hello, Jeff. It is Friday. Sorry it took so long to respond to your last video. I'm sure you understand. So, in your last video, you asked a question that involved the physical consequences of long-term space travel, the acceleration of technological development, and the aspects of our culture that we would want to send into space. And I would love to talk about all of those things, but first, outside reading material. Your question reminded me of a couple of vignettes from a sci-fi manga series that I'd stumbled across in the bargain bin back when I worked at Vintage Stock. It's called 2001 Nights by Yukinobu Hoshino, and it's basically what it sounds like. Sci-fi vignettes, Arabian Nights style, so, you know, 2001 Nights. Specifically, Night 4, and the second half of Night 9, which is related. But the whole series is worth reading. And just to be clear, it's not really my answer, I just like recommending stuff. Oh, speaking of, the Hugo Awards were this week. Well, last weekend. And I was super excited to see that not only did the Neil Gaiman penned episode of Doctor Who, The Doctor's Wife, win the award for Best Dramatic Presentation, short form, but also one of my favorite sci-fi stories I read last year, 6 Months, 3 Days by Charlie Jane Anders, won Best Novelette. Novelette? And while yes, you can read it for free on the Tor website, I would definitely recommend just kicking off the 99 cents to get it on Kindle or Nook or iPad, because paying for good writing is cool, much like bow ties are cool. So, on to your question. Would I want to go on the first ship or the second ship? I would go on the first ship. Yeah, that's not really the kind of question I would even have to think about, because I want to go into space. Space. When I go to space. And I'm not particularly interested in getting anywhere first. I have no competitive nature in me, like, at all. Also, there's something I don't trust about that question, and I think it's the assumption that you would actually get a choice one way or the other. Now, I mean, obviously, if the first ship had already left and I had the option of going on the second ship, I would take it. But I feel like if you have the option of taking that first ship, not taking it becomes kind of a gamble. Even though technology does advance very quickly, the question of how quickly is interstellar travel going to advance is not really that clear right now. So my answer would pretty much always be first ship. I'm not particularly interested in where or when I end up. It's always going to be the journey that is more interesting in space. All that said, I'd also like to address the point that Tim brought up in your Facebook post thingy. If the first ship has artists/humanities majors, would the human race be looking at a rift in the arts? Art progresses through time, thus would those on the ship be creating a second version of humanity, which represents the culture of space travel. Space art. Shit just got real. I think that's a good question, but it's also a very easy question to answer because the answer is yes. And the reason I think that question is simple to answer is because we already do that, but on Earth. Language and art and culture and philosophies have been splintering for as long as human beings have been splintering into smaller offshoot groups of each other. So in that sense, space art will be as related to the arts we have on Earth as, say, British literature is to American literature. Not to undercut the point, I still think space art will be awesome, and I think all the different space arts that we get from different generation ships and colonies and whatever else are going to be great. And I can't wait for that to start happening. That's still not the reason that I want to be on the first ship. That's just because I want to be in space. But I think it would be an amazing part of that experience. And speaking of Tim, I might as well just skip to the end of the video because I honestly don't have a specific question or anything to throw at you right now, and I started making this video way later than I meant to, and I want to make sure to get it put together and posted online in time for this last part to matter. And the last part is that I want to give a shout out to my friends in the Missouri State English Department that will be reading their awesome material this very evening. So to my friends Derek and Tim, to Tony, who I don't really know that well, but she's always seemed nice and I know she's an awesome writer, and to the others that I don't know, but they're getting to read, so they're probably pretty boss. I wish you all the best. And that is all I have for the moment. If I think of an interesting quandary or problem or what have you in the hours between whatever time it is now and whatever time I eventually lose consciousness, I'll throw up an addendum or something. But until then, I'll see you in the future.